not gotten to part the sea. He had not rescued the children of Israel. This is at the point where God is telling him to go do something. And he's like, no, get somebody else to do it. Okay. And so, we're not so different from Moses. I'm not so different from Moses. There have been situations in my own life that God was telling me to do something and moving me to do something, and I didn't want to do it. Specifically, there's a book. I wrote a book about my life. And there are a lot of details in that book about my life, specifically being molested when I was younger, drug abuse and domestic violence that happened in my home, situations of being abused in foster care, being homeless. I wrote a book, but it has so many errors and situations. But the point is, the Lord, I was still had that trauma in my life, the traumatic situations inside of me, but I hadn't put them anywhere. And the Lord had called me back in 2008, to just start putting it down on paper, start writing. And I was like, well, I'm not an author, Lord. I'm a lawyer. You called me to be a lawyer. I'm not an author. What would I have to do with writing a book? If not a legal thesis or some kind of something for law review. I was already a lawyer, but I'm just saying, or something in the legal community. What would I be writing about? And the Lord pressed me. He got me to the point where I, like Moses, was like, Lord, I'm not an author. Get somebody else to do it. And he was like, no, you're going to do it. And the interesting thing is the stories of my mother's murder in that book that I wrote, familial incest in the book, college and not being homeless and having nowhere to go. The people that God sent through my life to help me, like my mentor, Dr. Jacobson, the woman that brought me to Christ, the most important woman in my entire existence, other than my mother-in-law and my mama, of course, my mother, Yvonne Donald, is Patricia Johnson. Patricia Johnson is the reason why I accepted Christ at 17 years old. And she's in the book, how she brought me to Christ. And so I understood Moses very well, that hey, God, get somebody else to do it. I'm writing. I like writing, but it's my best skill is oratory. But God said, no, you're gonna put it in writing. And then I put it in writing, and then I put it out, and didn't have the right editing and all that other stuff, and so I put the book on hiatus, and it's still on hiatus right now. It needs an editor, an excellent editor, and a publisher, and it's a lot.